Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another Talmix broadcast. Today, we're doing things slightly differently. We've got a wonderful celebration happening this week, which I'll be telling you a bit more about. But as usual, I'm Katie Roberts. I'm here with a fantastic panelist, and we're going to be talking about a great topic today that is probably affecting most businesses around the world today, and one that I'm sure you're going to find very interesting. So this week, we as Talmix celebrate our first birthday as the Talmix brand. Previously, many of you would have known us as MBA and Company, but we transformed our brand in 2016 as the business grew and the focus on the future of work and an independent talent pool moved to the top of our agenda. And so what better way to celebrate this week as our first year of Talmix than to look back at some of the organizational trends and challenges over the past 12 months and share some of the insight that we've been hearing from our own clients and consultants and some of the people in our network when it comes to strategic workforce planning, change management, and more importantly, how they are becoming more agile and flexible and fluid as organizations as they embrace this new way of working. So today, joining me on this broadcast is Talmix's Chief Commercial Officer, Sandeep Dhillon. Sandeep has an extensive background in the tech, media, and telecom space, as well as a firm footing within the investment banking and consulting industry himself. And counting PwC, KPMG, and Jeffries and Company as a few of the globally recognized institutions he's worked for. So I'm very lucky to have a super experienced panelist sitting with me as well, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of insight to share. So Sandeep, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Katie, for the wonderful introduction, and I'm very pleased to be here on such a special occasion.
Excellent. Great. Well, I'm going to jump straight in. I know we've got lots to chat about today. And if you're joining us for the first time, wherever you are in the world, if you're watching this, welcome. As you know, we run these monthly. So do keep an eye out on your email, inbox, on social media, etc., to keep an eye on what's going on and what our next topics are going to be. So Sandeep, I just want to kick it off, kick our discussion off with you today to help us get started. You are pretty much on the cold face on this of this war on talent, as they call it, this massive skills, embracing the skills transformation. You speak to organizations every day about the challenges they face, with not only finding the best talent, but more importantly, adapting to a very rapidly changing world of work. So share with us some of the challenges that you've been seeing in the market today as businesses try to ready themselves and their teams for the future of work.
So Katie, I think the first thing that I've been with the business for around about 2 years, is the conversation is very different from what it was 2 years ago to today. I mean, we're regularly speaking with HR leaders across global corporations. The big buzzword which comes across is strategic workforce planning. What that means is that companies are looking at their buy, build, or borrow strategy. By buy, it means acquiring new talent, full-time talent in the organization, building, so using their existing talent and building up the skill set, and then borrowing, which is really what Talmix does, which is a sort of online talent or freelance talent. And so we're seeing companies now a lot more open to these ideas, particularly the more innovative companies. They want a more lean workforce, and they want a lot more of their workforce to have digital skills. They want the right skill sets rather than filling a job. So it's very different to actually filling a position now. It's very much about what are the projects that are going to be going on throughout the year that the person can be adaptable to. And for that, you need the exact talent rather than one sort of specific skill set. Traditional hiring has been very long-term in terms of requires lots of long-term planning. And people don't have time for that anymore. Companies don't have time. They have to be very lean, and they have to adapt very quickly. On top of that, HR teams now have to have a full 360 view on all their talent. And that includes not only their internal talent, but also the outside talent that they're using on a regular basis.
I mean, it's that you touch on it. It's the digital transformation. I mean, it's them almost being forced to look at things in a completely new way, and sometimes a foreign way, things that they may not have been used to doing before. So I can see how the change is really a big thing for a lot of organizations, because they're almost forced to look at themselves and the way that their own core structures are set up. and then how to satisfy their own clients and launch new products and, you know, make sure they're operationally compliant, etc. So we know that change is a very difficult thing, and businesses are being put under immense pressure to become agile in order to be ready for tomorrow. So from what you've seen over the past 12 months, what are some of the ways that you are seeing clients become more fluid in the way that they access talent?
So one thing we've seen in particular with large companies is that they're really building out the HR teams. And the HR teams look very different to what they would have done a while ago. HR teams historically were responsible for either interviewing and recruiting and talent, and then doing some form of talent development. Now the HR teams are thinking a lot more strategically, hence why they need a lot more support from talent on how they should be thinking about leveraging their full-time talent, as well as building a base of on-demand talent as well. So we've seen teams become a lot larger within HR, and the actual types of profiles that companies are hiring for being very different to what they were before. And so that's one of the key parts here, because essentially it's all about filling knowledge gaps rather than filling positions. So that's really been the fundamental change that we've seen. And another aspect is companies historically would use large consultancy firms to do digital transformation projects, and they're very expensive generally. And in terms of the output that they get, it can be very generic. What companies want to do now is to have a whole broad skill set of talent within those transformations. So that includes their own team internally. They want to upskill them, and they want to bring in talent who's done these types of transformations elsewhere, so that not only can they leverage their own talent, external talent, but they can also upskill their own talent as well, rather than relying on a consultancy firm which comes in for a period of time, maybe prepares a couple of reports, and then leaves the business to really kind of do all the hard work.
So and I'm sure if you took a look back at your career history, you know, in your own career history, you've probably seen some great examples of organizations that have kind of resisted the demand to become flexible, but and have missed out on some huge opportunity. I mean, do you have any stories or examples that you can share with us on people that kind of missed the boat because they were so restrictive and unable to embrace a new way of doing something?
So there's certainly a lot of industries generally that are facing a lot of challenges now because it takes a long time to change. Those ones specifically being that are highly regulated, for example, so it takes them a lot longer to adapt. However, what I'm seeing from meeting with a lot of large corporates across multiple industries is that actually a lot of them are adapting very well. Talent is what is actually leading the change here, because the people they're hiring, particularly the sort of next generation, and also even the generation that's currently working for them, they want a lot more control over their career. They want work that has a lot more meaning, and they want results from the work that they're doing. So like I said, rather than just doing a job, it's very much about what results am I achieving. Now, in order to achieve this, it can be difficult to achieve this within an organization if you're just a full-time employee, hence why there is a movement for people to be a lot more freelance. One interesting thing I've seen, particularly for a very large global corporate, the way that they work is that when they have new strategic projects that are ongoing, they actually prefer to use their own talent internally to fill those projects, even if they don't have that specialism. And what they'll do is they'll bring in specialism from outside to help train them. And at the same time, they'll fill the gap of what they actually do as a day-to-day job. So what they're doing is they're trying to build in the culture of having a lot of variation, a lot more control, a lot more results-based work throughout their organization. So that's really at the innovative end. On the other end, there's some organizations, and one example being a very large organization where risk is at the heart of the agenda. So they're very adverse to change because it's a very high-risk culture. And in that instance, they're trying to change through putting in, again, really good quality HR talent, so that's leading the way forward thinking. However, their hands are certainly tied because they have to do that within a very highly risk managed culture. So again, they're putting the right pieces in place by having the talent there. However, the industry as a whole and the overall company objectives are what holding them back.
And if we do delve a little bit more into the industry specifically that you refer to, are there any industries in particular that stand out more than others in terms of embracing independent talent or an independent workforce? I mean, we know, you know, the development, the traditional development and disruptive digital worlds, they are always on the forefront of trying new things, doing new things. But are there any other industries that kind of stand out as being the leaders in this change or new way of accessing independent talent?
So I suppose one industry that has always been open to freelance is media, and we're seeing that in particular at Talmix as well. We do have a lot of demand from media clients. They're very used to having freelance talent because that's essentially how the whole industry has been built up. So in terms of that industry, it's not a difficult sell to them. They understand, they get the proposition. And again, they're actually having to adapt their own business models as well. So they're very keen to bring in business talent or on demand as well, rather than just design or other freelance talent that they would historically use. Telecoms we're seeing as well as being very open to change, which is interesting because it's very traditional business. However, they've had to go through lots of large transformations, particularly with changing customer behaviors. So they have been very much on the front foot in terms of leading a lot of these digital transformations. So again, Talmix have some great consultants who have experience leading some of these digital transformations within telecoms. And then the other one really is retail. And retail can be a mixed bag, but the majority of them have had to change due to the way that we're changing selling to customers. So, multi-channel approaches. However, now it's becoming even more complex because data is at the heart of a lot of decisions that are being made. So in particular, retail, there's a very high demand for people who can really do a deep dive in data in order to get customer insights. So those are kind of the main industries where we're seeing lots of innovation happening. We're even seeing innovation across energy as well. Now, again, we've got new types of energy coming across. So again, they've always had to innovate on that front. And what we're also seeing within energy and also within other industries is there's a lot of innovation labs now within large corporates. And these innovation labs are really there to identify the next thing or the next type of technology to bring inside the organization. So across the industries, we're seeing broad change it's quite a mixed bag when it comes to large corporates. Some can be very innovative. And again, some can be very restricted due to regulations or risk.
Awesome. And if we had to flip that coin, and if I had to ask you the very different question, which in the same light, are there any industries in particular that appear to be taking slightly longer than others to prepare for the future of work? And if so, what advice do you offer to those who know they need to make the change, but simply don't know where to start?
So, one I suppose you could take is really transport. We've seen the Monarch Airlines, unfortunately, going under as well. And again, they've faced a lot of challenges because of pricing pressure and traditional ways of doing things. So industries such as that are really struggling. Other industries, particularly in hospitality industry as well, it's very challenging now for customers, for these companies. If you think about new business models coming around, such as Airbnb, which is disrupting the hotel industry. On the taxi front, again, you've got other disruptive models like Uber, disrupting a traditional taxi model. So again, it's really industries that are open to different types of business models and disrupting them that have not been fast enough to innovate or embrace change. The companies that, again, like I said, are embracing change are the ones that are really leading the way in terms of innovation. So they're investing in new types of businesses, new types of business models. Good example being IKEA, investing in and purchasing TaskRabbit. Again, not necessarily directly related to their business, but they're very keen on this space as well. So companies that have innovation labs or are doing investment are really the ones that are leading the way.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Monarch, and last week was Toys R Us. It's the same thing. It's the same people that wake up, unfortunately, too late and realize we need to innovate. It's kind of like a lot of industries relax on knowing, well, our brand is strong enough, our brand has enough following, etc. But, in the blink of an eye, that can change, and simply because they just haven't taken the time to embrace a new way of working. So if the proof is in the pudding, as it goes, do you have any examples of clients that your team, particularly, at Talmix, has worked with that may have been apprehensive about looking at talent in a different way, but after using Talmix or after having some honest discussions about the way that they look at independent talent, do you have any examples where they have successfully changed their approach and seen true talent success?
Sure. So, we work with large private equity funds. In particular, we work with the portfolio operations teams of these funds who help manage the businesses that they buy. And in those instances, they typically look to give knowledge and experience to these companies in order to improve operations efficiencies. So there was a large US-based fund. And historically, the way that they would work is that the partners themselves, the portfolio operating partners, would be involved in giving a lot of the advice and doing a lot of the work for the companies. So, for example, if they purchase a new company and they're looking to put in place a best-in-class or better quality pricing strategy, the partner themselves, supported by one of their team members, would maybe do some analysis in order to to advise management on what to do. Now, this isn't the ideal situation because the partner time and also that operations team time can be a lot better spent in understanding what other key challenges they need to solve within the business. When we spoke to them, they hadn't really thought about using independent business talent or any talent for their portfolio companies. They were open to trying it, they tried it, and I think what they really found really impressive was finding a pricing consultant who has the exact specialism within the specific industry that the company was operating in, so was able to add a lot more value than they would. And then on top of that, freed them up to actually work out what other areas of the business that they could explore in terms of efficiencies. So now they're using our platform very regularly in order to hire the sort of the really specific niche talent for any portfolio companies that they buy, which has in turn freed up their time and also is adding a lot more value to the businesses that they've invested in.
That's amazing. I mean, you touch on something there that I think I've never ceased to be amazed by the amount of skill and expertise exhibited in our in the Talmix, independent consultant community. We do as you know, we do regular profiles and feature articles on some of our consultants, and every single one of them has such a huge variety of skill and experience and talent that you start off and you think, well, there's no one that will be able to help me with something so niche and so specialist, and almost certainly there will be someone who can offer exactly that, who has been there before, who has done that, and and I suppose that's what appeals to clients. So if you had to in 2 minutes, if someone was joining our broadcast today for the first time and had kind of heard about us but are really interested in actually using us, how does someone get started on the platform? What do they do? Where do they start?
I mean, it's relatively simple. I think the first thing you need to start is what is it that you actually need. So look at the way you're currently doing things and think about, are there any different ways to do it in terms of finding efficiencies, freeing up some of your time, or bringing in best-in-class practice. The other thing as well, and it's interesting, I was speaking to a customer today, and they used it really to check what they were thinking. So they were planning on investing a lot of money in a new plan, but they didn't have the specific knowledge or industry expertise to make sure that that was the right way to do it. So they came to Talmix. We provided them with an absolutely amazing consultant who validated some of what they were planning to do and also disputed some of what they were planning and suggested alternatives, which in the long run has saved the business a lot of money. So it's all about understanding, your key drivers for your business, understand what areas can you look for efficiencies, and is there someone out there who maybe knows more than this area about me that could actually add a lot more value.
Amazing.
That's the starting point. And then it's very simple. You come to Talmix, you go to post a project, and then I'm always amazed at, as you were saying, the breadth and quality of the talent that we have.
It is amazing. I mean, I was just thinking on a slightly different topic as well. Sometimes you might find the consultant who has the experience, who's able to deliver something, but sometimes it's even just in the way that they work, which kind of brings out a new idea or new creativity within your own team. I think we featured recently a consultant who is an expert in change management, but helping businesses to kind of develop and execute an organizational strategy. And her entire way of approaching it is through a visual way. So the way that she works with someone to kind of pull out what's really core to a business and an organization in order to look at where they're going might be completely different to the way someone else would do it. And I think that's also what an independent talent pool offers is, yes, they have the expertise, they have the experience, and they have the know-how, they have all the qualifications, but they also have a different approach, which, and many times it's that approach which kind of brings out something new, that kind of sparks new creativity, and that's encouraging, I think as well. So on this first birthday of the Talmix brand, Sandeep, and looking ahead, so I'm asking you to put your future thinking cap on, looking ahead towards many more, what do you see coming for the talent industry as a whole, and maybe HR functions specifically within organizations? And what may organizations expect to find in the next few years, specifically when it comes to talent and this future of working?
So I think, like I said, when I speak to large corporates, they're actually doing quite well at the moment in terms of understanding what changes are coming and building up the relevant teams. Where they do struggle is really finding that talent, and I think that's something that Talmix offers, in such an easy way. Some organizations, large organizations I have spoken to, want to manage and find all that talent in a central place. And my view on that in particular is that it's actually quite difficult to build different communities and have them all through one channel. If you look at some of the traditional providers of talent on demand, those were really just more of a database rather than a network or a community. And I think I envisage Talmix and what we view Talmix as really community, or a community of very powerful independent consultants that we continue to keep engaged, that we continue to provide the best work for. And then on the client side, they know that they have a very engaged, active, and lots of differing views and independent views from that side as well. You only see that the talent pool will continue to rise. We have about 500 to 600 new consultants join our network every single month, which is really exciting. So it just shows the scale of what's happening. And again, from a customer standpoint, we continue to see this being a very valid solution. One company I spoke to last week in particular was saying that they don't like the fact that their internal teams use consultants or contractors continue to use on an ongoing basis for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years in some cases. They really want a fresh perspective on a regular basis. So they want to have different skill sets coming at different times and provide new viewpoints. So very exciting space. We continue to see lots of amazing consultants join our network. We'll continue to offer them some great services and great access to clients. And on the same token, we're working with some really leading clients that we're very excited to work with, who again are very forward thinking. And it's the only way is up really for Talmix.
Absolutely. Awesome. And just as we come to the close of our broadcast today, Sandeep, any final thoughts, any final tips or last minute advice for a business watching this broadcast today that you kind of want to leave them with before we end?
I think, again, it's just a matter of really looking about, what is your plan to grow within the next couple of years. There's obviously going to be a lot of change, particularly in the UK, across Europe as well. Are you prepared for that change? Do you need any specialist advice? And the great thing about Talmix is you can come to us and have a consultant for a day through to however long you choose. So, it's very much a small investment really to be made for a very large return, which could either save you money in the long run or, and more importantly, help you generate more for your business.
Awesome. Well, Sandeep, thank you so much. Our broadcast is almost done, but I just really wanted to thank you so much for your time today. Great insight, great knowledge, great advice that you've shared. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Katie.
No problem. And thanks everybody for watching. If you've joined today, as I said right in the beginning, if you've joined from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for watching. We will be running these, as you know, we run them monthly, but every so often we do a special one, and we do run them intermittently as well. So do keep an eye out on your email inbox or our social media pages, and we'll be sure to let you know of the next broadcast that comes up. If you do have any questions about any of the things that Sandeep or I have chatted about today, and you'd like to know a little bit more about how you can change your approach to talent, and and maybe change the way that you think about what your team might look like. Maybe you've realized it's time to augment your team, use your core team and find talent to kind of augment and to complement. Whatever it is, do give us a call or visit our website www.talmix.com, and Sandeep and his team will be happy to have a chat with you. We're a friendly bunch. And we'd be more than happy to have a chat and see how we can help you and how we can connect you with a truly independent workforce ready to help you succeed. So for now, we're going to be signing off, but do stay in touch, and we look forward to having you back at our next broadcast again soon. Take care and have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye.